My husband's request about our horse took me by surprise. I never thought a simple day on our peaceful farm would turn into something that would shake me to my core. My husband and I have always shared a deep love for animals, especially our horse, You, who's been part of our little family for years. There's something calming about the way he moves, the way he listens, and how he seems to understand us without saying a word. But one afternoon, that calm was replaced with something else, something I still can't fully explain it. Started with a look in my husband's eyes, one I hadn't seen. Before he had this excitement about him, this spark, like he was onto something big. He came to me with what he called a brilliant idea, something he wanted us to do together. With the horse at first, Ismail'd assuming it was one of his usual quirky plans for a fun video, or maybe just a new routine for the horse, but as she explained it further, I realized he wasn't joking. This wasn't a harmless idea. It was something that made me stop and question, what exactly are we about to do? I love him, I trust him, but even love has its limits, especially when something doesn't feel quite right. You could hear the way his voice softened when he said, "Just trust me. It'll be amazing." And maybe that's what scared me the most, the way he believed in it so deeply. While I stood there, filled with doubt, the horse stood quietly nearby, unaware of the growing tension between us. But even he seemed to sense something was off. And in that moment, as I looked from my husband to the camera he had set up, one question echoed in my mind. I about to cross a line I can't come back from. I stood there for a while, unsure whether to move closer to the camera or walk away. My husband had already begun adjusting the angles, talking about lighting and how natural everything looked. He was so calm, so focused, as if this whole setup was completely normal. But in my chest, a tightness had started to build, like my body was warning me before my mind could catch up. I watched him move with purpose, and that's when it hit me. He had planned this for a while. We've always been a team, from fixing fences to feeding animals. We shared every part of life on the farm, and I admired that about us. He was the dreamer, always coming up with new ideas to keep things interesting, while I was the grounded one, making sure those ideas didn't get out of hand. But this time, this idea wasn't sitting right with me. It wasn't about the horse or even the video. It was about how far he was willing to push something, just because he believed it could be great. He kept saying things like, "This will get people's attention," or "No one's done something like this before." I started to wonder if this was really about sharing a sweet farm moment or just trying to go viral. I glanced at the horse, calm, steady, but his eyes were wide and his ears flicked back. He was picking up on our energy, and that unsettled me even more. "What exactly do you want me to do?" It finally asked, my voice, quiet but firm. He looked at me, smiled like everything was fine, and said, "Nothing too crazy, just be natural. You and the horse, that bond, it'll show on camera." But there was something in the way he said it, a slight pause, a hesitation that didn't match his usual confidence. The camera was already recording, the lights were on, and suddenly it didn't feel like just another video. It felt bigger, more intense, like we were standing on the edge of something we hadn't fully thought through. I shifted my weight, glancing once more at the horse, then back at my husband. His eyes were locked on mine, searching, waiting, and for a brief second, I wasn't sure who I was really looking at anymore. I tried to steady my breathing, but my mind was racing with questions I couldn't push away. Why was he being so vague? Why did this feel more serious than he was letting? I watched him walk over to the tripod again, making slight adjustments, as if the perfect shot mattered more than the mood hanging between us. The barn was quiet except for the soft shuffle of the horse's hooves and the faint hum of the camera. The air felt heavy, like something unspoken was about to surface. I ran my hand gently along the horse's neck, grounding myself. This horse wasn't just an animal. To me, he was part of our family. He'd been there through everything, through quiet evenings and loud arguments, through laughter and days when I just needed someone to stand beside. And now he was caught in the middle of something he didn't understand. My husband's voice cut through the silence. Come, stand right. Hair just like we practiced. Dearlier I hesitated. Practiced. We hadn't really practiced. Anything he had mentioned, ideas. Yes, but never something this specific. My legs moved almost out of habit as I stepped toward the spot. He pointed at the horse, shifted, slightly restless now, sensing. Something wasn't right, and he was right to feel it, because deep inside I felt it too. Tell me again what we're doing, I asked. I needed him to be honest, to explain it properly, but all he said was, trust me. 2 words that used to comfort me now felt like pressure. I looked at his face. There was focus. There. But also something else, something I couldn't name. I wondered if this was really about us, or if it was about proving something to someone else, maybe to the people online, maybe to himself. There was a part of me that wanted to believe in him. Like, I always had to let go of the doubt, but something was different now. He wasn't herring me. He was too wrapped up in making something that felt more like a performance than a moment between us, and the horse, still shifting nervously beside me, was becoming a reflection. Everything I felt inside. He moved toward the camera again, called my name gently, and said, smile a little. It'll feel more natural. I tried, but all I could think was, what happens if I keep going along with this, and what if I don't? I stood there trying to hold it together, but every part of me, waist against the barn, usually my peaceful place, now felt like a stage I hadn't agreed. Toasted on my husband's voice, kept directing me, calm on the surface, but underneath, it was something more urgent, more controlling. Just a little closer, he said, waving his hand toward the horse. We're almost there. Almost where? You wanted to ask, but I was too afraid of the answer. The horse shifted again, clearly. Sensing my discomfort, his ears flicked back, tail twitching, and I gently placed a hand on his neck to calm him. It wasn't just me who felt the shift. In energy. He did too. Animals always know when something's off, and right now, everything felt off. I glanced at the camera again, its little red light blinking like it was watching everything, recording not just the moment, but every inch of doubt crawling under my skin. I looked at my husband again. He was sophocused, adjusting angles, checking lighting completely in his own. But it wasn't the kind of passion that excited me, it was obsessive. And that's when I realized this wasn't about us anymore. It wasn't even about the video. It was about control, about how far he could push me. Before I finally pushed back, can we talk about this? I asked softly. He didn't look up. We will just finish this. Part first, his words were smooth, but I could hear the impatience. Behind them it was, like he needed this shot, needed me to cooperate, to prove something, maybe to the world, maybe just to himself. But I wasn't sure I could keep going. Not like this. The horse let out a low snort and shifted again, bumping me slightly. I stumbled to step to the side, catching myself on the wooden stall door, my breath caught in my throat. My heart pounded louder than the hum of the camera. Everything was building, his pressure, my fear, the horse's unease. We were standing on the edge of something, and I didn't know which way it was going to tip, but I knew this something was about to snap, and once it did, there'd be no going back. Just as I studied myself, trying to calm my nerves, I heard a sound that made everything inside me freeze, a soft click from behind the camera. It was faint, almost unnoticeable, but I knew that sound. It wasn't just recording. My husband had turned on the live stream. I felt my stomach drop. My first instinct was disbelief. No warning, no heads up, no chance to back out. He had gone live without telling me. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a video we could delete or edit. This was happening in real time, and people were watching. The red blinking light on the side of the camera had changed. It wasn't just a record icon, it was a broadcast. Wait, I said, my voice sharp, almost too loud in the barn. Are we live? He didn't look at me, just adjusted the tripod slightly, pretending not to hear. It's fine, he said quickly. Just keep going. You're doing great. No, I said louder now. You went live without telling me. That's when he looked up, and for the first time I saw it clearly. This wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. He had planned this. He knew I wouldn't agree to it, so he didn't give me a chance. He was counting on the pressure, the audience, the camera, the moment to push me through it. I needed it to feel real. He said, his tone too calm, too casual. They respond more when it's not staged. The words hit me hard. Not staged. This was my life, not a performance. And now strangers were watching me struggle to stay composed, watching the tension. They didn't fully understand, I felt. Exposed, betrayed. The horse picked up on it too. Ears back, feet shifting. I tried to calm him again, whispering softly, but my own energy was off. I couldn't ground myself anymore, not with everything unraveling. I didn't agree to this, and I saw Id stepping back. You crossed a line. He raised his hands like it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, it's just a few minutes. Come on, you've done harder things. This is nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was trust being shattered right there. On camera, the real twist wasn't just that he went live. It was that the audience had started commenting, real-time words flashing across the screen. I couldn't see them clearly from where I stood, but I caught glimpses. Some were confused. Others seemed amused, but a few too many. Sounded concerned. People could sense the tension. They weren't watching a feel-good video. They were watching something uncomfortable, something real. And then the worst part, my phone buzzed in my back pocket over and over, messages coming in, friends, family, people asking what was going on, if I was okay, if this was part of the plan. That's when the panic really set in. He tried to reassure me again, but it was too late. The audience was growing, the pressure was building, and now it wasn't just about me and him. It was about the eyes watching, the judgment forming, and the line he'd clearly crossed without thinking. I'd ever push back, but he was wrong. I wasn't going to stand there silent, just for the sake of a good shot, not anymore. I stood there for a moment, feeling like the entire world had slowed down around me. The live stream was still going. The comments were still flooding in, and my husband was still trying to act like everything was under control, but inside, something in me had shifted. I walked straight toward the camera, not caring how it looked, and turned it off. Just like that. The screen went black. The stream ended. Silence. He looked stunned. "What are you doing?" he asked, as if I had just ruined everything. "No," I said firmly, my voice calm but shaking. "What are you doing? You made a choice without me. You used our life like it was a script, like I was just a part of your content for a second." He didn't say anything, and then he dropped the act. "I thought you'd go along with it," he said, shrugging. "People love authenticity. You were emotional. It was real. It wasn't yours to share." I snapped. This wasn't just about the horse or a cute story. This was my heart on display, and you didn't even ask. He opened his mouth like he had more to say, but then stopped. Maybe he realized it. Maybe not, but I didn't wait for him to figure it out. I walked past him and toward Max, our horse, who had been pacing nervously. I stroked his neck, whispering softly, grounding myself in the one soul that hadn't tried to turn my life into a performance. And that's when the final twist came, as I was unclipping Max's halter tallet, him roam freely in the pasture. I noticed something tucked in his saddlebag. Something I hadn't put there, a small envelope. I opened it. Slowly inside was a folded note written in my husband's handwriting. The words were brief but chilling. "I know you saw the messages. I couldn't let it go public. This video had to distract them." My hand trembled. Messages. What was he hiding? It wasn't just about the horse or the live stream. There was something more, and now the real story was only just beginning. I stood there, holding the note in my hands, my mind racing. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to make sense of what I just read, what messages, what was he trying to hide. I turned to face my husband, who had remained silent, staring at me with a mixture of confusion and guilt. "What does this mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I could feel the weight of the truth pressing down on me. He sighed deeply, looking away for a moment before meeting my gaze. "It's not what you think," he said. Quietly, "I was trying to protect you. I didn't want you to find out this way, but—" He hesitated, struggling to find the right words. "There's something I've been keeping from you, something that could ruin everything." The truth hit me harder than any of the moments before. He had been hiding something from me all along, but it wasn't just the live stream. It wasn't just the pressure to create content, to push boundaries. It was deeper. It was about the trust we had built and the secrets he had been keeping for reasons I still didn't fully understand. He took a step toward me, his eyes pleading. I thought, "If I could keep you focused on the video on the horse, you wouldn't notice, but I was wrong. I'm sorry." I shook my head, tears welling up. What happened to us? What happened to trust? He dropped, his head looking defeated. I messed up. I thought I could handle it, that it wouldn't get this far. But I was wrong. We stood there for what felt like an eternity, the silence between us filled with unspoken words. But I knew I couldn't go back. Things had changed. The bond we had once shared felt fragile now, no matter how much I wanted to fix it. I realized that it would take time. Trust had to be rebuilt, not just between us, but within myself as well. After a long conversation, that night, we agreed to take a break. We needed space to figure things out, away from the cameras, away from the pressure. It wasn't easy, but sometimes taking a step back was the only way to move forward. In the weeks that followed, things slowly began to heal. We worked through the issues, learned from our mistakes, and found new ways to connect, not for the camera, but for each other. The horse Max remained our calm companion, a reminder of what truly mattered. The video was never uploaded, and in the end, it was a lesson we both needed to learn. No amount of content or followers could replace the trust and love we had built. It wasn't about the likes, it was about us. And as for the future, I knew that it would take time, but I had learned one thing for sure. Sometimes the most important stories aren't the ones we share with the world, but the ones we hold close to our hearts.